Good morning. Let's start the class with some prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo, Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhurvavasvaha, Tatsavitra Margo Devasya Dhimami, Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat. Asto ma sadgamya, tamso ma jyotirgamya, mrityorma amritam gamya. Om Sainavavatu, Sainavunaktu, Saviryam Karvave, Tejasvi Navaditamastu, Ma Vidvishavali. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Let's open our Uddhava Gita book. We are on chapter 7, verse number 37. And this verse goes like this. Deho api dev vashgaha khalu karam yavat swa arambhak prati samikshat eva sasu tam sa prapancham adhirudh samadhi yoga swa apnam punar na bhajate pratibuddha vastu. This material body, which certainly moves by the arrangements of providence, will certainly continue to exist along with the life air and senses. As long as one's karma is in effect, one who has attained absorption in the Lord through samadhi and who is fixed in the absolute reality will never again surrender to the material body and its manifestations, knowing it to be just like a body seen in a dream. So that means total detachment from the body, because you have recognized in samadhi that who you are in essence. We are not the body. So as long as one is destined to enjoy the results of his karma, one continues to remain within the material body along with the life air. Life air means the prana. So physical body and the prana. The question may arise, if a self-realized soul gives proper attention to the maintenance of his body, won't he again become attached to it? Lord Krishna herein states that one who is highly elevated in Krishna consciousness, having understood that Krishna to be the actual reality, never again surrenders to the illusory identification with the material body, which is just like the body seen in a dream. So that means you don't get attached to it again because you have seen the reality, who you are. The Supreme Lord alone is the eternal object of all kinds of relationships. As eternal servants of the Lord, his pure devotees, even while situated with their material bodies, do not forget him. They do not become attached to the temporary activities of the insignificant states of awakening, dreaming, and deep sleep, because their only object of worship is the Supreme Personality of God. So they're constantly remembering and staying attached to the God. So verse number 38. Mayo tad uktam vo vipraha guhyam yat sankhya yoga yo janet magatam yagyam yushmad dharam vivakshaya. My dear Brahmins, and who are these Brahmins? This is a story going on between the Brahma and his sons. I have thus explained the conditional, confidential understanding of Sankhya and Ashtanga Yoga. You should understand that I am Lord Vishnu, having come here to instruct you about your actual religious duties. And Lord Vishnu in the form of Hamsa avatar. That's where we are learning in this chapter. To strengthen their faith in his teachings, the Lord said, my dear Brahmins, Sankhya, or the science of the self, and Ashtanga Yoga, the process of linking with the Supreme, have thus been revealed to you. In the future, it will be remembered that Lord Madhav, in the form of Hans, instructed Brahma and his sons. The Supreme Lord said, I am the Supreme Absolute Truth. I have come here to reveal the confidential understandings that were incomprehensible to the misguided preachers of Sankhya and Vedanta. I am the object of everyone's worship, the supreme instructor, that which is to be known. So this purport is not a translation of the verse. This is the author's own interpretation. Okay, so do not get confused with this. Verse number 39. Aham yogasya sankhasya satyasya tasya tejasah prayanam dvij shreshtaha shriya kirte damasya cha. O best of the Brahmins, please know that I am the ultimate shelter of Sankhya, the yoga system, truthfulness, influence, opulence, fame, and self-control. So this is like all the sadhana. So ultimate goal of the sadhana is what? To become one with God, whichever path we are walking on. So the sons of Brahma were astonished by the presentation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They thought, what wonderful instructions we have just heard. The Supreme Lord thus said to them, O best of the Brahmins, I am the supreme shelter of Sankhya, truthfulness, equanimity, progress, and influence. The Lord said, I am the ultimate goal of the various systems of Abhidhe, followed by the different sects. So there are so many different paths to reach the same goal, to be united with the Supreme. So verse number 40. Ma bhajanti guna sarve nirgunam nirpekshakam suhridam priyam atmanam samyaha sangadhyo guna. The best of the transcendental qualities, such as being transcendentally situated, detached from matter, the well-wisher of everyone, the most dear super soul of all living beings, equally disposed everywhere and eternally liberated, are found in me, their worshipable Lord. Because Lord Krishna has been describing his own nature, the sons of Brahma might doubt that he has become proud, which is a material quality. Understanding this, the Lord clarifies his position in the present verse. The Lord said, my body is not material, made of the 5 gross elements, like that of the conditioned souls. My body is completely spiritual, eternal, full of knowledge, and full of bliss. Indeed, the transcendental qualities worship me. The Lord is called Nirpeksha because he is never attached to material enjoyment like the conditioned souls. And conditioned souls are the Jivatma. Because he is the best, well-wishing friend of his devotees, he is called Suhridam. The word Priyam indicates that the Lord is a supreme lovable person and thus has affectionate relationships with his devotees. The word Samya indicates that the Lord remains neutral, even while situated within the turmoil of the material world. It is therefore concluded that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the reservoir of all transcendental qualities. Sridhar Swami has also confirmed that the qualities of the Lord are transcendental and eternal. In the first canto, it is also described that all the personal characteristics of the Lord are eternally present in his form because there is no difference between the Lord and his body. This is also confirmed in the Vedas as follows. The Supreme Brahma has no material senses. He has nothing to do, and there is no one equal to or greater than him. Everything is performed naturally and systematically by his multifarious energies. So this is from Shvetashwar Upanishad. And we have studied that Upanishad. You can go back and look at it. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, do not come to a conclusion of impersonalism, because it is sometimes stated that I am devoid of qualities. I possess all transcendental qualities. I am situated beyond the modes of material nature. I am the best well-wisher of my devotees. I am the shelter of all, and I am the ultimate goal of everyone. Transcendental qualities such as equanimity and freedom from bad association are eternally present in me. I cannot be understood by those who are in the bodily concept of life. So that means if we are attached to the body, or if you think that we are only the body, we really cannot understand this great wisdom. So verse number 41. Iti mechin sandeha munyaha sanakadya sabhaj hitvaha parya bhaktya grihant sanstavai. Lord Krishna continued, my dear Uddhava, all the doubts of the sages, headed by Sanak, were thus destroyed by my words. They then worshipped me with a loving devotion and glorified me by offering transcendental prayers. So this Hamsa avatar was nothing, no one other than the God himself. The Supreme Lord said, my dear Uddhav, having received my instructions, the sages headed by Sanak became freed from all doubts, and so they lovingly offered me prayers and worship. Those who are detached from material enjoyment have no doubts whatsoever. The sages headed by Sanak attained that transcendental platform and offered prayers and worship to the Lord. The last verse of this chapter. Ter aham prijit sanyak samsutta param rishibhi paryaye swakam dhamam pashyata parameshthina. The sages headed by Sanak Rishi worshipped and glorified me to their full satisfaction. Then, as Brahma and his sons looked on, I departed for my own abode. The Supreme Lord said, after I was worshipped and glorified by the great sages, I returned to my own abode, and Brahma looked on. So this is the end of this chapter 7. So this is the tradition, which is like a worshipping the Lord, worshipping the Guru. So this is our tradition. Chapter 8. Lord Krishna explains the yoga system to Shri Uddhava. So summary of the chapter. In this chapter, Lord Krishna explains to Uddhava that devotional service is the topmost sadhana. He also speaks about the process of meditation. Shri Uddhava wanted to know which is the best process for achieving the ultimate goal of life. And he also wanted to hear the super excellence of pure devotional service. The Supreme Lord replied to him by explaining how the religious duties prescribed in the Vedas had been lost at the time of the previous annihilation. At the beginning of the new creation, the Supreme Lord instructed these religious principles to Brahma. Brahma repeated it to Manu. Manu spoke it to the sages, headed by Bhrigu, who in turn instructed these eternal religious duties to the demigods and demons. Because of the living entities' varieties of material desires, religious principles were elaborately explained in different ways. Thus, different philosophies came into being, including some atheistic doctrines, because the living entity, bewildered by illusion, is incapable of ascertaining his eternal benefit. He mistakenly identifies ordinary vows of penance, austerity, etc., to be the ultimate spiritual practice. So that means we just mistake the means for the goal. So, like austerity or penance, they are just the means, not the goal. But the actual means of achieving happiness is to renounce material desires and become satisfied by surrendering everything at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. This drives away selfish desires for sense gratification and liberation. The Lord then described the superior process of devotional service, which destroys countless sinful reactions and produces many ecstatic transformations, such as the standing of the bodily hairs on end. Okay, we know that there are symptoms of ecstasy, and one of the symptoms is when we have like a goosebumps. So this is what he's mentioning over here. Pure devotion, having the power to purify the heart, enables one to achieve the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And because the devotee is very dear to the Lord and is always close to Him, he is able to turn to purify the entire universe. So that means the effect of the purity in the devotee, it just spreads wherever the devotee is. Pious activities such as giving charity and observing religious vows do not have that potency. By virtue of his unflinching devotion to the Lord, the devotee can never be completely diverted by the objects of sense enjoyment, even if he is not able to gain control over his senses in the beginning. One desiring to attain the perfection of life is advised to give up all material processes of elevation, as well as the association of women. He should then merge his mind constantly in thought of Lord Krishna. Finally, the Lord instructed Shri Uddhava about the true object of meditation. So, this is what we're going to learn in this chapter. So, Uddhava is asking a question in the first verse of this chapter. Padante Krishna Shreyansi Bahune Brahmvadina Tesham Vikalap Pradhanyam Utaho Ek Mukhyata. Shri Uddhav said, my dear Krishna, learned sages who explain the Vedic literature recommend a variety of process for achieving the ultimate goal of life. Considering the variety of viewpoints, kindly explain to me whether all of them are equally important or if only one of them is supreme. In this chapter, the supremacy of devotional service, which brings Shri Krishna under control, and the method by which devotees who desire liberation meditate upon the Supreme Lord are described. Shri Uddhav requests further clarification regarding what he has already heard from the Lord. He also wishes for the Lord to clearly state what is the foremost sadhana. Uddhav said the sages who know Brahma have propounded various paths for attaining the perfection of life. Please tell me which of these sadhanas is best and most effective. So all these different paths, sometimes we think that multiple paths have been here because always there are different kind of a mental temperament. So according to our own temperament, we are attracted to certain paths. But ultimately all the paths are going at the same place. So verse number 2, Bhavato dahata swamin bhakti yogo napekshita nirasya sarvata sangam yen tavye avishen mana. My dear Lord, you have clearly explained the process of unalloyed devotional service by which one can free himself from all material association, thus enabling him to fix his mind on you without deviation. So, this is also said by Uddhava. In this chapter, it is firmly established that pure devotional service is the super excellent process for absorbing the mind in the absolute truth. Lord Krishna. Next, the question will be raised whether everyone can engage in devotional service, or is such a practice limited to a select few? The mind is very unsteady, and we are all familiar with that. And so, by utilizing one's good intelligence, one must remain firmly fixed in devotional service so that one can ultimately attain the association of the Supreme Lord in his transcendental abode. This is the only intention of Lord Krishna's speaking with Shri Uddhava. Now, Lord Krishna is answering or clarifying to Uddhava. He says in verse number 3, Kalena nashtaha pralle vaniyam ved sangita mayadahu brahmanoh proktaha dharmo yasyam mad atmata. The Supreme Lord said, in the course of time, Vedic knowledge appeared to be lost at the time of annihilation. Then, when the universe was recreated, I again imparted Vedic knowledge to Brahma because I am the religious principles personified. So, that knowledge was given to Brahma again in the start of the creation. Again, because it's a cycle. The Supreme Lord said, O Uddhava, I am the reservoir of all pleasure, and my devotees directly engage under the direction of my hladani, or pleasure giving potency. Somehow or other, one must fix one's mind upon me, and that is not possible without devotional service. One who has not developed his attraction for me cannot restrain the senses from inferior engagement. Since other Vedic processes do not actually award me to the practitioner, they cannot offer the highest benefit in life. The transcendental sound of the Vedas is itself the highest evidence. But one whose senses and mind are entangled in sense gratification and mental speculation, and whose heart is therefore covered by material dust, cannot directly receive the transcendental Vedic message. So that means if the coating of the Maya is on our mind, how can this kind of a purity can get seep in? Thus, one cannot appreciate the exalted position of my devotional service. The transcendental objective is distinct from the objects enjoyed by material senses and is realized by the reception of transcendental sound vibrations. In the conditional state of existence, a living entity is not capable of appreciating the transcendental sound vibration of the Vedas. Four-headed Brahma was instructed by the Supreme Lord about the supreme religious principles But for those who are attached to sense gratification, Bhagavad Dharma is not easily understood. So, in other words, we got to detach from the Maya in order to attach to God. That is very basic thing to understand. Because sometimes we think that we're going to do both. It doesn't work that way completely. Otherwise, we are just in between. We don't get the benefit which we are supposed to get. Verse number 4. तेन प्रोक्ता स्वपुत्राय मनवे पूर्व जायसा ततो भृगव आद्यो गृहणम सपत ब्रह्मा महर्षिया. Lord Brahma instructed this Vedic knowledge to his eldest son Manu, who in turn instructed it to the 7 great sages headed by Bhrigu. So this is Lord Krishna is telling Uddhava what happened in this creation. See, creation happens again and again after annihilation. So in this creation, this is what happened. So now there is a group of verses 5 to 7. So 3 verses, let's look at those. तेभ्या पितृभ्यस्तुत्र पुत्रः देवदानम गुहका मनुष्या सिद्ध गंधर्वः सविद्याधर चारणः किंदेवः किन्नरः नागः रक्षः किं पुरुषाद्या वनस् तेषां प्रकृत्योः रजा सत्व तमो भव यार्भि भूतानि भिद्यन्ते भूतानां पत्यस्तथा यथा प्रकृति सर्वेषां चित्रः वाचः ध्रुवनिः. From the forefathers headed by Bhrigu Muni and other sons of Brahma appeared many children and descendants who assumed different forms as demigods, demons, human beings, Guhakas, Siddhs, Gandharvas, Vidyadhars, Charans, Kinnadevs, Kinnars, Nags, Kimpurushas, and so on. Okay, so different jatis. See, this is a Vedic explanation of this creation. Not from the amoeba and then growing like this. Human beings came after the monkeys and all that. No. Our Vedas say God created everything. Okay? If a God can create amoeba, God can create a human being too. So he created Siddhs also, Guhaks also, Gandharvas also, Nags also. All these are different to fill up this creation. All of the many universal species, along with their respective leaders, appeared with different natures of desires generated from the 3 modes of material nature. So 3 modes of material nature, this Prakriti. Prakriti has 3 guns. So according to the guns, this creation happened. Therefore, because of the different natures and desires of the living entities within the universe, different statements regarding religious principles have come into existence. So that's why there are so many different paths. So tamasic nature will definitely follow the tamasic path. Rajasic nature will follow the Rajasic path, and Sattvic will follow the Sattvic, according to our own nature. Many people wonder why the Vedic literatures recommend so many different paths of advancement. The answer is given herein. Bhrigu, Marichi, Atri, Angira, Pulastya, Pulha, and Kratu are the 7 great sages within the universe. The Kinadevs are a race of human beings who are like the demigods, are without fatigue, perspiration, and body odor. One might wonder, Kim Devaha, Are they demigods? They are a species of human beings that reside on another planet within the universe. The Kinnars are so called this because Kinchin Naraha. They are something like human beings. The Kim Purushas also resemble human beings, and so it might be asked, Kim Purusha, are these human beings? They are a species of monkeys that are something like human beings. Why are there various paths recommended in the Vedas? Because people have various desires due to being under the clutches of the three modes of material nature. Hence, there are different religious systems. According to the degrees of aversion to the Supreme Lord, Vedic mantras have taken various shapes to fulfill the desires of sense enjoyers. Thus, the proliferation of Vedic processes indicates only the variety of material illusion and not a variety of ultimate purpose. So that means ultimate purpose is one. So goal is just one, it's not multiple purposes. One goal, multiple processes. The ultimate purpose of many paths recommended in the Vedas is one, to revive one's forgotten relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because we have forgotten. We just thought that we are the body. We think the material enjoyment is the purpose of life. So remind us again to wake us up. The Vedas, the Vedic mantras are there, and the avatars come to wake us up, to shake up us. The next verse, verse number 8. Evam prakriti vachinthyat vidyante matyo nirinam paramparyen keshanchit pashand matyo pare. Thus, due to the great variety of desires among human beings, various philosophies have come into existence. These philosophies have been handed down through tradition, custom, and disciplic succession. There are other teachers who present atheistic philosophies. So remember, this information, this knowledge was given by Arjun to Uddhava more than 5,000 years ago. Sometimes we think that we have become so smart and we have come up with various philosophies. No, these various philosophies have been there. Okay, always. The word paramparayan means through disciplic succession. Atheistic philosophies are meant for those who are very foolish and opposed to the purport of the Vedas. That means they really don't believe in the Vedic philosophy. So that's why this author is calling them foolish also. Neem trees, tamarind trees, poisonous trees are situated on the banks of the river Ganges. Although they drink the pure and sweet water of the Ganges, through their roots they produce bitter, sour, or poisonous fruit. Similarly, those who are atheistic or demonic utilize Vedic knowledge to produce bitter or poisonous fruit in the form of atheistic or materialistic philosophies. This is the purport of this verse. While viewing the variegatedness of the material world, materialistic people are distracted from the understanding of the eternal truth. Following in the footsteps of atheistic philosophers, many unfortunate people are misguided in the of life. Acceptance of principles that are contrary to the Vedas is a prime example of misfortune. Okay, so it's just like a not knowing the ultimate goal, just living a materialistic life. So clearly he's saying that it's a waste of human life. Verse number 9. Manmaya mohidya purushaha purushrishbha shreyo vadanti anekant yatha karam yatha ruchi. O best among men, the intelligence of human beings is bewildered by my illusory energy, and that is Maya. And thus, according to their inclinations, they propagate various means for attaining what they feel to be the ultimate goal. So they think that ultimate goal is just to attain something in this worldly life. They think that is the ultimate goal. So the word anekant means different kinds. Anek ant. According to one's individual way of doing things, yatha karam, and one's personal preferences, yatha ruchi. One speaks to others about what is good for them. Everyone thinks what is good for me is good for everyone. Sometimes people worship 5 demigods for the fulfillment of their desires. And sometimes they become intoxicated by the philosophy of impersonalism. Thus, in various ways, people view life from their limited perspectives and fail to understand that service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of life. Some of them pose as spiritual masters, some of them assume the role of disciples. In this way, they fall into an ocean of unearths because of their lack of attachment for spiritual life, being bereft of the Lord's devotional service. Being without sadhu sang, they are unable to properly worship the Supreme Lord. And this induces them to accept more and more anarthas. See, anarth is opposite of arth. Anarth. The person who has no faith in the Supreme Lord, who has no sadhu sang, and does not worship the Lord, is certainly full of anarthas. Okay, so if our association is not right, our sang is not right, we can very easily get deviated from the right path. Being mad after material enjoyment, they have no taste for spiritual life and are thus denied the opportunity of realizing the absolute truth. Verse number 10. That's the last verse we're going to do today. धर्मम एक यशस चान्य कामम सत्यम दमम शमम अन्ये वदन्ति स्वार्थम व ऐश्वर्यम त्यागा भोजनम केचित् यज्ञम तपोदानम व्रतानि नियमान यमान. Some say that happiness is obtained as a result of performing pious activities. Others say that fame, sense gratification, speaking the truth, control of the senses, peacefulness, fulfilling one's self-interest, political influence, wealth, detachment, performance of sacrifice and austerities, giving in charity, the observance of vows, or the performance of one's occupational duties are the causes of happiness. See, happiness we are all seeking. We often talk about it. Person who's crying also crying because feels happy about it. So we are all looking for happiness, but where are we looking for happiness? That is the point Lord Krishna is making. And why are we looking for happiness? Because our real nature is happiness. That's why. We are drawn towards the happiness, but sometimes we just are on the wrong path. The Karam Mimansaks say that one should not waste time worrying about a kingdom of God that no one has ever seen and from which no one has ever returned. Rather, one should expertly utilize the law of Karam, performing fruitive activities in such a way that one will always be well situated. The authors of the Kavya and Alankar literature say that as long as the glories of a person is sung in this world, he'll be able to enjoy life in the heavenly planets for thousands of years. Sages like Vatsayan preach the fulfillment of lusty desires to be the objective of life. Others propagate the ideas that truthfulness, self control, and peacefulness are the essence of religion. The materialists say that the accumulation of wealth is one's true self interest. According to the followers of Charvak, eating voraciously is the true religion. The followers of the Vedas say that the performance of a sacrifice and austerities and observance of vows are the activities of religion. Those who are advocates of the practice of yoga say that the controlling the mind and senses is their religion. Generally, people conclude that religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification are life's true objectives. The quest for fame is a kind of happiness enjoyed on the mental platform and is certainly illusory. There are many people who advocate that peace can be attained by remaining aloof from the intoxication of material enjoyment. Materialists become absorbed in the attainment of prosperity. Ascetics become obsessed with rejecting material prosperity, while others are concerned by accumulating huge stocks of grains and other food items. But these are all anarthas. So if the earth does not take you towards dharma and ultimately moksha, that becomes anartha. So whatever path we are on, we should look at that. Is it taking me towards the ultimate goal? And ultimate goal is oneness with God. Am I going back where I came from or not? That's what we got to look at. No path is wrong. All paths are good. But are we keeping in mind that just walking on the path is not my goal? Walking on the path is just a means. Goal is to become one with them. Okay, so let's stop it here. So next week we'll start with the verse number 11. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate Om Shanti 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 Om.